Hi, and welcome to the golden years of Hollywood. Well, the Hollywood musical is synonymous with the 1930s, and it was with Warner Brothers' 42nd Street in 1933 that the Hollywood musical came back into fashion. It was around this time that RKO signed Fred Astaire to a contract and teamed him up with the lovely Ginger Rogers to create probably the most best remembered and loved of film partnerships. And it's one of their best films that we're going to have a look at today, Top Hat. With an amazing musical score by Irving Berlin that featured classic songs such as Isn't It a Lovely Day and Cheek to Cheek, it really didn't matter what the story was all about. But basically, it centered around Fred falling for Ginger and trying to woo her with his song and dance, only for Ginger to be under the assumption that he was already married.
Oh, my darling.
Hello. How have you been?
All is settled in the end though, and the happy couple dance away. So that's it. But look, the cast included familiar comedic characters such as Edward Everett Horton, Helen Broderick, Eric Rhodes, and Eric Blore. In Ginger Rogers' autobiography, she stated that Horton was a very humorous fellow and behaved in a comical manner all the time, even when the cameras weren't rolling. Helen Broderick would pull laughter out of mannerisms. Eric Blore's deadpan expressions were worth their weight in gold, and Eric Rhodes extracted his laughs from the idiotic lines of the character he was portraying.
But I am Bedini.
You got me there, pal.
Ginger also recalled that Fred Astaire, who was well known as a perfectionist, had a number of grievances during the production. Now, a letter by Fred to the producer Pandro S. Berman stated, "I cannot see that there's any real story or plot to this script. The lead into Cheek to Cheek is hopeless at present, and the fact that Rogers slaps me in the face in 2 different episodes is certainly wrong."
Well, if Madge doesn't care, I certainly don't.
Neither do I. All I know is that it's heaven. I'm in heaven.
Well, the script wasn't the only thing that Fred Astaire was annoyed about. Ginger Rogers had asked the costume designer, Bernard Newman, to make a special dress for the Cheek to Cheek number. Covered in ostrich feathers, it was very unique and became one of the most famous dresses in film history, but not before a major confrontation. Both Fred and the director Mark Sandridge immediately saw it as a problem and tried to get Ginger to wear the white dress she'd already worn in their previous film, The Gay Divorcee. Now, Ginger's mother, who was on the set that day, insisted that if the dress goes, then so does Ginger. Well, finally a compromise was made. They'd do a take with the feathered dress, but if it was too difficult to photograph, then she'd have to wear something else. So they completed a few takes successfully, with Fred cursing during the breaks and picking feathers off his tuxedo. Years later, when interviewed, he said, "It was like a chicken being attacked by a coyote. I never saw so many feathers in my life. I had feathers in my eyes, my ears, my mouth, and all over the front of my suit." Anyway, the next day at the screening of The Rushes, the director and Fred Astaire sat in silence as they watched the dance routine. When it was finished, they agreed that the first take was the best, then simply got up and walked out, without mentioning anything about retakes, which pleased Ginger, but she was really upset by the silent treatment that they gave her. However, 4 days later, Ginger received a note from Fred that said simply, "Dear Feathers, I love you." The Astaire-Rogers musicals were filmed at RKO Studios, which was located on the corner of Melrose Avenue and Gower Streets in Hollywood. Today, the studio and the sound stages still stand, but are incorporated into the Paramount Pictures lot. The big white set was a highlight of the Astaire-Rogers musicals and were filmed in stages 7, 8, 9 and 10 that, when combined together, made one of the largest film stages in the world. In Top Hat, this was where the big dance number, The Piccolino, was filmed. And it was also the setting for Venice, complete with canals and gondolas. Now, look, today's audiences would probably laugh at the thought of this obviously fake representation, But honestly, if you just allow yourself to be carried away by the magic of the Hollywood musical, well, it just becomes part of the charm. Top Hat. It's certainly one of the great film musicals from the 1930s and one of the classic films from the golden years of Hollywood. I'm David Duncan. See you next time.